Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm here with Josh Guest. He is sitting in front of a 2024 national champions Ole Miss Rebels sign. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. Also, I'm wearing my, I think this is the one that says national champs right here on the side, 2022 for baseball.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I also have this one here, just, repping the swag here, because I guess I'll just jump right in. When Jordan Watkins said he was coming to take this off, when Jordan Watkins said he was coming back, I thought things got real because, you've been saying the whole time we can recruit to the playoff. And I believe that because our two losses were Alabama and Georgia. And I think Georgia next year is a danger to our home winning streak, to be honest with you. But when Jordan Watkins said he was coming back, I kind of thought, And then when Priestcorn announced, I thought, oh. And then Trey Harris, and I had a party. I didn't get any sleep last night. I'm just kidding. I did have a big party when Trey Harris said he was coming back, because at that point I started looking at everybody and I said, y'all, this is not a playoff run that Lane Kiffin is trying to do right now. This is a national championship run he's trying to make, because these guys are all coming back and we are, as you have put it many times, big game hunting. We've already landed some really big names, some pieces, key pieces that are going to work in Golding's defense. We already saw it work with pieces he didn't even recruit. Now he's going to get to go pick his recruits and players and that kind of stuff to fit his scheme. I know he schemes around players, but to do what he likes to do, this is about to get real. And I'm not, by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and I know I'm a fanatic. I'm not saying we're going to win that national championship. I put a question mark there and I erased it. But I do think that we're trying to make a run. And I'm uber excited. I do think we have legitimate shots at this princely Uman-Mielen. I'm going to say it real slow and try to say it right. I have no idea if I just did.
That's pretty close. Uman-Mielen.
Well, I went and watched Locked On Florida's guy say it a couple of times to try to get it. So,
yeah, a really good player. And what's Oxford like social media right now is absolutely ablaze with what's going on in Oxford. What's the actual town like?
Oh, so everybody I talked to is a buzz. This morning I spoke with someone who if you watch basketball games at home, he's one of the people at the table. He's doing something at the table official with the clock or the scoreboard or something. And he works in the building with me here. And he was all a buzz just about sports in general. Speaking of basketball, what, 9-0 now? We got past UCF. Another game where past Ole Miss basketball teams, even last year, would have folded 3 or 4 times.
And just so everybody knows, we're recording this on a Wednesday, but it's going to air after Ole Miss plays Cal. So that's the reason we're not talking about Cal.
That's right. That's right. So, another example of an Ole Miss team that would have folded but didn't and got a close win, a win. And how crazy was it that last sequence when Flanagan went to throw it deep, it was blocked, and then he didn't just bow his head and be like, oh, woe is me. He blocked the shot and saved the game. So, after the oh my gosh, it was like, oh my gosh. So it's great to see. And one of the things he said was, basketball is doing what football did. We could easily be 4-5, but we're 9-0. Football, we could have easily been 6-6, but we're 10-2. Because of the way the teams are responding. And look, again, I'm not a big coach or whatever else, but preparation has a lot to do with that. Mindset, belief in your team and your teammates and those around you and your coaches. And I'll be honest with you, I think there's a lot of belief around town. You're asking about Oxford. I think there's a lot of belief about Ole Miss sports in general and the job Keith Carter's doing right now. And so it's a lot of fun right now. It's a lot of fun to talk to people. But when Trey Harris announced, I transitioned over from going, hey, guys, we can make a run next year, be in the playoffs, maybe host one if we're 5 through 8, to I think we got a real shot at being 1 through 4 at this point and getting a bye. If we get a couple more key pieces, but we're not done. We are nowhere near done with this.
Not even close.
No.
And heck, Walker Jones was like on Ben Garrett's podcast talking about that, and he literally said they're not done. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth as well. You look at all these players that Ole Miss they're recruiting and they're in on, and they're just basically strengthening position groups. There's been one corner, one safety, one linebacker, one offensive lineman that has come in as well. You have all the key pieces coming back off of a team that won 10 games. You're making position group rooms, in your opinion, that raising the talent of those rooms, it is really, really hard not to get completely excited right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go crazy, but I just had to drive across town for something here in Oxford, and I was driving back, and on my way back, I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking about and I was thinking about some things that Brad Logan said on the live show last night, and I was thinking, in years past, like this year, we just got outmanned against Georgia, and we got outmanned against Alabama. It's hard to even wrap my mind around this, but it's possible, especially if we pick Nolan or Human Mielen or both up, we won't get out. We will not at that point be outmanned.
No, potentially the best defensive line in the SEC.
Yeah, or country. I mean, it's amazing to think about that right here, little old Ole Miss and Oxford. We may have this incredible situation where when Georgia comes calling next year to Oxford, we may can uphold that home winning streak. I'm not ready to say we will. It's going to be a tough, hard-fought game because they're really, really good. But, boy, we're getting really, really better.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what year it was because age is getting me, but it was either 92 or 93 when Ole Miss's defensive line had Tim Bowens on it and Norman Hand. And those defensive lines, Ole Miss is building a defensive line that can kind of compete with that one because that's probably the best defensive line that Ole Miss has ever had, those two players. I think Ole Miss is building something that could work similarly right now. If they can get Walter Nolan, who's due in, or he was in Friday because this is airing on a Sunday. Friday, he came into town. He's probably off of campus right now as you're watching this. And Princely Unam Mielen, he visited midweek and everything. He took a long visit. It felt like he was here for 3 days, and I'm sure he wasn't. But, I mean, it felt like he was just hanging around. And, there's several players. You don't know if Carter Smith is going to pull the tree. And like I said, by the time you watch this, it's been 4 days since we recorded it. So understand there's a gap. That is so many players that are available in the portal and going on. Everybody's so excited, but Ole Miss has a really big Peach Bowl to play. And that game is in roughly about a little over 2 weeks, about 2 weeks from the time you're watching this. But that is a game, I'm not going to say it's a must win because I don't believe there's such thing as a must win necessarily in sports altogether, but it's a very important win. And Ole Miss needs to get it because if they do that, they win the 11th game. On all of the momentum, they're going to come into the preseason ranked 5th in the country or something like that. And that gives you margin for error in a 12-team playoff. So that game is very big. I think they're practicing really well right now. I think that the Ole Miss players are up to play Penn State. But I think that Peach Bowl, Ole Miss fans are thinking about the portal and all of that. But this Peach Bowl, it's the first game of 2024. It's not the reward necessarily for this season. It's kind of the first game of 2024.
Well, and again, my mind's been all over the place. I actually went the other direction from you and thought, well, this game doesn't matter that much anymore because all of our guys are already committing to stay. And that's the big thing that makes me so excited because there's no way that Ivy, Harris, Watkins, Priestcorn, I wasn't sure we were going to get any of those to stay, much less all four. And the fact that all four are staying, I completely agree with what Brad Logan said last night. It's just a matter of time before Judkins and Dart announces, and they're staying. And it's because everybody believes they can win and not just go to the playoff. They believe they have a legitimate chance to win it all. And nobody's told me that. I don't have inside information and talked to anybody. I do know people on staff and that kind of stuff. And nothing has been said to me or talked about with anybody that knows anything about that. That's just my own gut feeling, which is usually wrong about most things in sports. Even though I love sports, I just always get the lines wrong, the scores and everything else. But my gut tells me that they really believe that they have a legitimate shot at the whole kit and caboodle. Obviously the playoff, which is nice. But even beyond that, I believe they have a belief that they can even make a run because, again, we get a few more pieces and we just won't be outmanned anymore. And that's almost hard to say. It's almost like I can't even say it with a straight face, but I believe it at this point. I believe it at this point. So I'm just if you can't tell, I'm about to explode.
One of the biggest challenges that Ole Miss fans are going to face over the next year during this run are gatekeepers and arbiters of truth. And they think whatever their opinion is the correct one because somehow they're gifted to know what's going on. My advice to everybody is not to listen to too many players. Have as much fun as humanly possible in this run because this is generally a situation where next year is here. Everybody, we've been doing wait till next year our whole lives. And just about everybody that's watching this podcast, next year is here. And we need to enjoy it. And we also need to kind of act like it instead of looking at all the warts and things that could possibly go wrong. Just enjoy this situation. I'm not going to tell everybody how to be a fan. Everybody can be a fan however they want to be a fan. But it's going to be important, I think, to enjoy this.
Well, and I thought of this earlier when you talked about 92, 93. I remember I transferred high schools from 9th grade to 10th grade, and the new high school I went to in 10th grade played the team I came from the closest to that year, and that team went 15-0. My old school went 15-0, won the state championship, and my new school lost 24-19. It was the closest game they played all year, and I took pride in the fact that I was at the school that was the closest one to beating the state champs. And then in that 93, I think it was 93 or 92 when Alabama won the state championship, the national championship, Ole Miss, I think, played them the closest that year. And I remember taking pride in the fact that Ole Miss, or it was one of the closest games or something. Mm-hmm. And it's so weird, that mindset of, back then I was like, oh, we played the best team close to, we could be the best team. We could be the best team.
What was that high school?
Water Valley is the one that won it. And then Lafayette's the one that I went to. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Because
Water Valley was their first ever state championship. I think it was 1989 maybe, or 1990 or something like that. And they went 15-0, and I went to Lafayette, and Lafayette lost 24-19, and Water Valley, like I said, won it all that year. So,
interesting situation. In 93, I think it was 93, I played at McGee High School, and we made it to the state championship game, and we got absolutely boat raced by the Louisville Wildcats and Morris Scott and Mon Nicholson and those guys. So I was just wondering if your school was Louisville, because
No, but they were good this year again. They have some good programs from time to time for sure there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those situations. Whenever I see Louisville in a state championship game, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking Louisville's going to win this football game. Our quarterback is probably still having PSD flashbacks or PTSD flashbacks from Morris Scott coming off the edge. Our offensive tackle had no chance that day. It was pretty bad indeed. Anyway, what are your expectations for the Peach Bowl? I know everybody's talking about all the players coming back and everybody's laser focused on 2024, but we still have a game to play. And in my opinion, that exhibition game is going to be very important because Ole Miss lost its two biggest games of the season this year. Penn State lost their two biggest games of the season. They both went 10-2. So this is going to be each of them's third biggest game of the season, so to speak. And I think it'd be important for Ole Miss to win this football game.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things this could also work against Ole Miss, but with the guy opting out and possibly some more opting out from Penn State, because they're in a different situation. We have so far, to my knowledge, and I don't claim to know everything, but to my knowledge, we have nobody that's opted out, right? And only Dayton Wade that's declared.
And Cedric Johnson is not going to be. He's doing the Senior Bowl after the season, so I think he's done too. Okay,
so we got a couple guys done, but we're just in a different place. So if they have a couple more guys opt out, especially on that defense, it could get out of hand. But on the other side of things, if they have all these guys opt out and then they beat us somehow, that looks terrible. But I think our focus is in a different place. I don't think this is like years
Bowl
past.
games are weird. Bowl games are weird.
They are, but I think with what's going on right now, and I also think there's I haven't read all the tweets that Walker Jones, all these people have put out and everything else, but as far as all the theory behind it, I don't know if they put a lot of stuff out, but I think there was a whole lot of stock putting into getting these Ole Miss people that are on campus to say they were coming, because just like Jordan Watkins, Prieskorn, and Harris got my attention, you think they got Walter Nolan's attention? And Princely Umanielen, or I tried it.
Umanielen.
Umanielen. And so
there we go. There we go.
We got their attention. I believe we got their attention, along with other Carter Smith. I mean, the other players around the country that Ole Miss is talking to, they're getting their attention. And not only they didn't have to sit around and figure it out for themselves like I did. They saw it happen like I did, but they have Lane Kiffin going, or Pete Golding or somebody going, hey, by the way, everybody's coming back and we're about to make a run. Do you want to come be a part of this? Because this could be really, really special. And the other side of all that is, just like the 2022 baseball team, here in Oxford, if a team makes a run like that, and my wife and I and the kids and everybody else, I said, look, we won't see anything like the baseball team again. I don't believe in my lifetime. And now I may be wrong, because we may see it in football next year. I don't know. But as far as just being in the doldrums and almost losing out, being the last team in, and then making that run in Miami and getting all those runs, and then, losing just the one game to Arkansas, and then the performance that Darty had in the first game of the finals against Oklahoma. I mean, all those things combined, that late inning rally and the home run with why am I all of a sudden losing the shortstop's name?
Jacob Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you. Like, I can call his name all the time, and I can't right now. And so, that late, he hadn't been well in the World Series as far as in the plate, and then hits the home run. I mean, all the stuff that went on. Justin mentioned how good he was. So I feel like we could make a special run. But my point is, you live on in infamy. That 2022 baseball team will be revered in Oxford in a way that they would not be revered in other towns that win other championships or more championships. And so I think that's also something else that they can recruit to if they and look, they're a lot smarter than I am. But if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm like, well, you could go to Alabama, or you could go to Georgia, or you could go somewhere else that's going to maybe pay you more and have a little bit better chance. But if you win one in Oxford, you'll be immortal forever. There you'll be just another name on the wall, another notch in a belt. In Oxford, you will be immortal. You will be, I don't want to use the word untouchable. I don't want to make them think they can get away with it, but I'm just saying they'll be so revered by everybody. It'll be unflipping believable.
Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Josh Guest joining us each week on the show. Thank you very much, Josh, for doing it.
Yes, sir. From the home of the 2024 National Football Champion Ole Miss Rebels. Hotty toddy.
That's right. Hotty toddy, everybody. Take care. Have a good Sunday.